Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. And today we're going to take a look at a medley of Costco's here in Los Angeles because sometimes you really do just find one great bottle per Costco. So I figure let's put one and one together and make two so we can get to see a pretty rare Scotch, at least to find this side of the Atlantic, at a reasonable price, which is the Glenlivet 25, as well as the American Classic Bourbon, at least as far as taste goes, the Old Forester 1897, again at another great price, and likely right now at this very moment on the shelves at a Costco near you. Now, before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, if you like the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we got cooking up for you, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it does really help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you get notifications when our newest videos come out. Or now, let's get down to the video. All right, so at this most auspicious time of the year, the very beginning of the year, that is, let's do a real quick whiskey check while we're getting warmed up and while we're getting the Wander Vision warmed up. And I think today I'm going to be enjoying a little classic sipper here, the Blanton's, the original single barrel. Yeah. So let's get a glass here. And see if we can get a pop. No, turn on both sides. It works even in these fancy bottles. Oh man, gotta love the fishnets, huh? Let's get it. All right, see if we can get the pop here. Hey, pretty good. That's a good start. A little bit of juice. Yeah. All right. Ow. And the whiskey, because let's face it, you can never really drink too much of it. You can only just sort of drink it too fast. Cheers. What letter is that? Letter A. It's a very letter A Blanton's. All right, so let's start off today at a Costco that is here in Los Angeles. I believe this one was from Woodland Hills, which is a Costco that's in a very nice little shopping center, but it doesn't typically have anything interesting in it, to be honest. I mean, occasionally you'll find some bookers and things like that, but you usually don't find anything really that interesting. At least I haven't seen in the last couple, years at the Woodland Hills. But this is the first one that we've seen at this Costco in Woodland Hills that sort of really piqued my interest in quite some time, which is the Glenlivet 25, the Sample Room Collection. So in general, I mean, Glenlivet is a great whiskey, right? It's great, it's very good, it's reasonably tasting, and you can find it pretty much everywhere that you can find a Glenfiddich. If not being, a bit pedestrian at the lower end size, but which whiskey is not? Also, it gets sort of confused with one of my personal favorites, which is the Glenfiddich. Not the Glenlivet, but the Glenfiddich, which most definitely they are competing head-to-head against each other directly, especially with the high-end bottles like this one, because there are quite a few aged Glenfiddich finished scotches that have come out in the last couple of years. The 26-year-old Grand Couronne finish in cognac, and the 23 Grand Cru, which is finished in champagne casks. So the Glenlivet is no doubt a response to those higher aged, unique kind of finished bottles that are swimming around all in the same consumer pool. That being said, the Glenlivet 25 is essentially the standard Glenlivet, aged for 25 years and finished in Pedro Ximénez sherry cask, as well as Tonsai. There's no way I'm saying that right. It's the C with the little tail on it, cognac casks, which are both first fill, meaning that the last thing that was in them prior to the Glenlivet whiskey was either the sherry or the cognac, and that gives it a very strong kind of texture and feeling from both the sherries and the cognacs, rather than a cask that's been used multiple times where, each time it gets used, some of that additional flavor added in there gets a little tied down. So I would imagine that there is maybe more than a nuanced flavor profile that's added to it from those fresh casks. So still a very good selling point though. Now the price that we find it here at the Woodland Costco is at $459, which is actually a pretty good price considering that if you were to look at it at Total Wine, it would have been $499 at that price point. And you would even find it at our local whiskey purveyors, because we did look it up there, for $479. So that one's not too bad. But that means that if you did get it at Costco, then you'd have about a savings of $15 or 3.26%. Also note, the Glenfiddich 26, not for nothing, is also at Costco for $499.99. So just to comparison. The ABV on the Glenlivet is pretty standard at 43% for Scotch, and that is a proof of 86% for those of us who enjoy the Imperial Standard. And at that age, it is obviously 25 years old. Now, the tasting notes that I could find on this one mentioned that there is quite a few people who actually preferred the 21-year-old over the 25-year-old. And that there is, in fact, a remarkably different talent between the two, other than just what you would expect from a 4 years difference, but the 21 is the preferred. That being said, there's also flavors of dark winter fruit like dried cherries, vanilla oak, syrupy grapes, mulberries, and marmalade, all with a milky texture, which all sounds pretty good. That actually does sound pretty good, especially this time of the year while it is still winter and it is raining. I know it's Southern California, but it is cold. If it's not winter anymore, whenever you're watching this. The overall reviews that I could find on it when I averaged them out, obviously not including mine because I have not yet tried this specific one, gave it 88 points out of 100, which seems okay in general, but I probably would say it's not good enough for a $500-ish bottle, especially when there are really close competitors, like very close competitors that I already know and love, like Glenfiddich. So overall, this one was a pass. It does seem interesting though to see on the shelves, and it's good to see getting Woodland Hills Costco up on the channel because it doesn't get much play. So good to have that. That is the Glenlivet 25. All right, so next up, to come back to home, to a classic American feel for whiskey. That is bourbon, you see, which is going to be at a Costco, also in Los Angeles, in Culver City, which is on the west side of Los Angeles, where you actually do see a lot of pretty good whiskeys and bourbons. You don't see the best of the best. You got to go to Hawthorne for that. But you see pretty good ones if you can get there in time and actually pick it up out of the case. But in this case, it is one that is good, but nothing crazy, nothing too exotic, but just happy to see, which is going to be this Old Forester 1897. Old Forester is a classic American bourbon out of Kentucky, and it has whiskeys from the daily drinker level, like this one, up to what I would call maybe like a high mid-range, because it's definitely not tippy top, but a high mid-range like the birthday bourbon. There are people who wait literally for days to pick some of it up, so I mean there's something to be said about that. But I guess it's more kind of like a Corvette of whiskey, right? Because you can have the base model for a very reasonable price, or you can step up to that top line, which is, very obtainable for a lot of people as far as price goes, but it's nicely souped up and just makes you feel special. And I think Old Forester has that kind of wide range, which is very, very nice, especially with that birthday bourbon. But in this case, the 1897 is named specifically to commemorate the momentous year that was 1897. Now, it's not because the American literary giant Mark Twain was reported dead, even though he was not. It's not because it was the year of the first Boston Marathon, which was run by 15 dudes, but because it is when the Bottle and Bond Act passed. And you can kind of see that on there, that it is a bottle and bond. Which ultimately what it did was finally put some regulation, some strict guidelines on how whiskey could be made in America, much to the chagrin of the traveling snake oil salesman who put a little bit of whiskey and laudanum together to make a cure-all. Boy, that'll kill you all. Now, under the Bottle and Bond Act, whiskey had to have an ABV that was at least 50% or 100 proof. It had to be stored in official sanctioned government warehouses. It had to be at least 4 years old, and it had to be fully distilled in-house in the same year, in the same season, by the same master distiller. So as to have sort of a lineage from start to finish on the whiskey, and to basically have a government seal of approval on there, because nothing makes whiskey taste better than bureaucracy, but at least to keep it, we'll call it safe. Also, the mash bill on it is at 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% barley. Now, that being said, the price that we see here at Costco is a very reasonable $45.99, which is the exact same price that you're going to find at Total Wine. I feel like they are cheating off each other's papers. And the only way that you would pay more is if you have, a Bevmo who has it priced at $56.99, which means that if you do choose to get Bevmo, or you have to get it from Bevmo, you'll be paying about $11 more, or 23%. It's a bit. Now, there is no age statement on the 1897, but because it is Bottle and Bond, we can infer that it is at least 4 years old. And the ABV on it, being bottle and bond, is 50%, right? Now, tasting notes that I could find on, including mine, because I do enjoy it from time to time. Not this one, because this one is not open, but the other one is indisposed at the moment. It has a nice old-timey bourbon flavored. Things like caramel, leather, roasted nuts, winter apple pies, table syrup, and vanilla. All ultimately very well rounded. And also sounds pretty good too, right? The review scores that I could find on it, including mine, average the points out to 86 points out of 100, mainly pointing out the fact that although it is good, and it is a good, it's not exceptional. It's definitely more of a daily drinker, but for $45.99, that is a great price point, except for when you keep in mind that things like an E.H. Taylor, if you can get them at MSRP, which you cannot, but if you could, it was $45.99, or even like a Weller that's not the special reserve, or even some of the blend-ins are all kind of sort of in that price range. And if you can find them in that same price range, then the $18.97, probably not going to hold a candle to those ones. So either way, despite it being good, I have one that is unopened thus far, so we decided that this was going to be a pass for us. But I think that if I had finished it and I was down and empty of them, it's definitely something I would have to keep around to be able to drink with some of my whiskey friends who are maybe not as far along the path, but are journeying down the road and kind of getting introduced to other things outside of Jack Daniels and Jim Beam and maybe Knob Creek. So that is the Old Forester 1897, and I think it's a great daily sipper, and if you need it and you like it and you want something kind of off the beaten path, a very good option. All right, so that is it for today's Whiskey Wanders at a variety of Costco's here in Los Angeles. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and really I hope you enjoy all of our videos, whether it is the Wanders or the hauls or the reviews or the unbottlings or the unboxings or all the amazing stuff we got cooking up for you. And we have a ton of stuff cooking up for you. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you get updates when our newest videos come out. Now, just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will, and it might even be me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm out, and adios.